Hello everyone, lesson number 7, back after a while. So we had like a week and a half of a break due to the holiday and other obligations, but now we're back with lesson number 7. We'll do a quick review of where we were last time. So just to remind you, we're in the second part of the article, the piece, in which HaSulam explained about the laws of reality and about how the ignorance we have towards these laws and the fact that we don't keep the balance with nature causes us all the suffering that we go through, and how can we deal with that. And in the second part of this article, he took an excerpt from of Rabia Akiva from Masechet Avot, which is pretty complicated, and he tried to explain that, and we started explaining that. That's the whole second part of the article. So let's go over it again. Here Rabia Akiva would say, all is in deposit and a fortress spreads over all of life. The store is open and the shopkeeper sells by deferred payment. The book is open and the hand writes, and all who wish to borrow may come and borrow. And the collectors return regularly, day by day, and collect from a person knowingly and unknowingly, and they have what to rely on, and the judgment is true. And all is ready for the feast. Okay, so we explained the first part, that all is in deposit and a fortress spreads over all of life, meaning that all of reality was created in a way that it's supposed to attain the final goal of adhesion, of attainment of the Creator to the complete measure. And everything that, and in this level of adhesion, the will to receive must become like the Creator, meaning like the will to bestow. So it has to change the intention, or you can say the operating system, or the operating software that it works by, and that's what it says, that all is in deposit, meaning that everything was given to the will to receive, to take, to use, to enjoy, towards or in order to help it to attain the final goal. And that means that the fortress spreads over all of life. What is the fortress? The will to receive. Because the Creator wanted to give endless abundance, it created an endless or infinite will to receive, and that's why we are built in a way that no matter what we receive egoistically, we always feel a bigger deficiency, because we have an endless will to receive, and that's the fortress we cannot escape from. And that's that's the collateral that the Creator has, that we won't stop on the way, and we won't be satisfied just with with some kind of vacation in Club Med, or with some very high quality pure drug, or other kind of pleasures, because we have an endless desire, and we can come to balance and rest and fulfillment only when we attain the Creator. And the store is open and the shopkeeper sells by deferred payment, meaning that it seems to us, as long as we are under concealment, that the store is open and everybody can come and take whatever he wants. There is no law, there is nothing, you can just do whatever you want. And that's why, because we don't need to pay directly, meaning as we saw, everything that has to do with the law of bestowal isn't being kept directly, in contradiction to the law of reception, because in the law of reception, if I have a desire, I don't receive, I feel immediate pain on the spot. Hunger, lack of something, of sleep, or of sex, of humiliation, of respect, of knowledge, I feel ignorant. So I'm paying on the spot if I'm not having what I need. On the contrary, if I receive what I need, I get immediate pleasure. So it's very clear to me, just like an animal, the reward and the punishment. And on the law of bestow, as we saw, there is no direct payment. Okay, so I can bestow to others and not receive any pleasure. I can not bestow and be happy for for the time being. The book is open and the hand writes. Okay, so how does the calculation being kept anyway? So he told us about the law of development, or the law of nature. I don't remember how did he translate that in the article, but it means that everything is being recorded, okay? And this is like a dialectic form of development that the will to receive goes through. So actually, in every state, if we still haven't reached the goal, then we accumulate more suffering, or more deficiency, or more will to receive. And if we go against the goal, meaning we just go egoistically and try to fulfill ourselves, we even go into minus compared to the previous state. And this state exists until we cannot bear anymore the minus, and then we agree that we must change our state and go to a higher state. And again, in this higher state, we might go into minus, suffer until we are ready to move forward, and we move forward. And this is how we develop. Okay? So he said that every good state is a result of all the memory of the previous state. And also in each minus state, or I would say differently, in each state, the evil doing, or the suffering, or the negative things, or the lack, again, it's being accumulated, and it pushes us to the next degree. So actually, you can look on time as process of change, or the action of change between states, and also in the form of a memory, okay? And this is very important, that beside the will to receive, we have a memory, and this memory accumulates mainly suffer or pleasure, because that's the only things that the will to receive can actually understand. And this is how we are moved forward, either individually or collectively as a generation, okay? And okay, and all who wish to borrow may come and borrow. Okay, this is something that here is where we stopped. Oh, sorry. Here is where we stopped on page 272, right? Let me check. 272, and it says all who wish to borrow. Yes, this is where we stopped. Okay, so before we move forward to that, let me answer a questions we got. Okay, so Anthony or Francis, who probably saw this, saw the recorded lesson of last time, asked, does that mean that until we are fully corrected, we will be suffering? Is life just a succession of suffering? Maybe it's why many commit suicide. They commit suicide because they don't have a justification for suffering, but yes, life is about suffering. If you look only on the will to receive, every development is about suffering. From teeth growing and until attaining or building a new career. It's all about, you need to pay, and you pay in effort or in deficiency, because without deficiency you cannot enjoy life, okay? And this is also unconsciously on your body level. Your body works very hard to sustain itself, to breathe, to bring offsprings, to eat. Eat is a lot of work. So that's why we have, how do you say bly in English? Oh, this is a nice word. I never think I've used that in English ever. That's gonna be interesting. Wear, okay, wear and tear, maybe like this.
Wear and tear.
Wear and tear. Okay, so that's why everything in our world has a wear and tear, because everything actually moves towards its death on an egoistical level from the moment that it's being created. So But the question is, do you identify with the suffering? So we see that if we are one level above the suffering, actually the suffering becomes like a pleasure. So some people do sports for fun. I don't get it. Many people don't get it. For us, sport seems like a dangerous thing, but people actually go and they enjoy doing all this exercise and putting all this effort, and like the body suffers like a dog, but they enjoy that. Or, for example, sex or food, as we've said, or a new challenge, or games, in so much frustrations in video games. You lose all the time, Like, egoistically, the perfect thing for us would just to do drugs all the time, be stoned until the moment we die, and not feel anything. But unconsciously, we feel that this is not right, that there is a purpose, that there is something higher. And if you identify with the higher state, actually you don't feel the suffering. It's like a challenge. It's like you feel that you advance, just like an athlete. It's the best example. So you actually feel thrilled by having a new way to lift, or a new challenge to do in business. I don't know what you like. So it really depends if you have a higher goal that you identify with. Otherwise, yes, you either commit suicide or do drugs or whatever. As we advance, question 2, as we advance spiritually, does the suffering feel the same at every step, or is it decreased as we evolve? Actually, it's increasing because we have a greater challenge. But again, we don't see it as suffering. Question 3. Is anxiety and stress an expression of that suffering? And if so, how to know what must be changed in order to stop that anxiety? It's not always obvious to know what is wrong. Many people find anxiety with yoga, meditation, delaying the transition, because it decreases the suffering as opposed to fully feeling it. No, there is no, first of all, okay, there are many things here. There is no goal of suffering. Don't try to suffer. It won't help you. Meaning, don't take from this lesson that, okay, then I'll go suffer like a dog until I cannot suffer any more of the suffering, and then I'll be pushed forward. This is not the right thing to do. This is not how we educate kids. We always come from the good thing. Why? Because if you have a good goal, again, this is about identifying yourself. So if we'll get to that in the next lesson, I think, but if you have a goal, then you always compare yourself to the next step. And if you compare yourself to the next step, then the current steps seem like minus. So you don't need to suffer, because now that I reached the plus state, I don't stay in that until I suffer enough and cannot suffer anymore. But I create or imagine the goal in a higher state, and I'm longing to it. I want to attain that, and then compared to that state, the previous plus seems like a minus, and then I move forward. So theoretically, at least, I don't need to suffer at all. I can just move from plus to plus if I always increase the importance of the next goal. And also you ask about anxiety and stress. That's not suffering. Anxiety and stress are expressions of the will to receive which is not fulfilled, and there is a result causes suffering. Okay, and that's why you cannot, like all these things you do psychologically or with exercise and stuff. This can be good for the meantime. The best solution on the long term is to change your perspective from thinking about yourself to thinking about others, and then you'll feel free and free from the will to receive, meaning free from the suffering. You'll release yourself from these traps of anxiety, stress, and other things that we experience in the will to receive. Okay, I've answered all of that. Let's see if we have questions from today. Buenas noches, amigos. Buenas noches to you too. I don't know if you have a question because I don't know Spanish more than that. Okay. Vivian is commenting, which is good. No more questions here. No more questions here as well. Okay, so we can move forward. Okay, so let's begin today's lesson. 15 minutes into it. Okay. And he says, Rabbi Akiva, all who wishes to borrow may come and borrow. This means that he believes that this world is not like an open store without an owner, but that there is an owner present, a shopkeeper who stands in his store and demands of each customer the right price for the merchandise he is taking from the store, meaning toil in his work while he is nourished by that store, in a manner that is certain to bring him to the purpose of creation as he pleases. Okay, so this means that that if a person already starts to relate to reality, that there is a goal, that there is a general principle, general law that you need to take into your calculation when you live life, then he is in a complete different state from somebody that just live life unconsciously. And this is a very, very important change, as we'll see forward, because you understand that everything was created for a reason. You understand that you need to pay for breathing, for doing any action. In this sense, actually the capitalist regime, just like in the United States, is much more closer to nature, because you actually need to pay for everything. Nothing is granted compared to socialist countries in which you are being born and you feel that I have the right for free education, I have the right to have a family, I have a right to be heard, I have a right, blah blah blah. And actually you don't have a right at all. You need to earn everything by effort. But okay, just egoistically, the more the ego develops, the more he feels that he deserves more. The more he receives more, the more he hates the one who gives it to him. That's why we'll see later on, or we see already that, for example, with immigrants or people or nations, we think that we come and help them and we give them so much, and we think that they should be grateful for what they give them. Actually, they just become more hateful in the second, third generation. But that's not today's topic. Such a person is regarded as one who wishes to borrow. Thus, even before he stretches his hand to take from this world, which is the store, he takes it as a loan to pay its price. Okay, so I start to look on life as a loan, meaning I was giving what I was giving in order to attain the goal. Okay, and this is very important. So I start to do a calculation of life according to the goal of nature, and not to the will to receive that just wants to fulfill itself more and more and doesn't care about anything. No goal, no loan, I just want to take it. Yeah, so that's why in our world you have all this loan crisis, because nobody wants to pay back. They just feel that they want to enjoy it here and now. In other words, he takes it upon himself to... Actually, this is called the loan crisis. I guess if Baal HaSulam had it in his time, then he would add it to this allegory. Or even it's not Baal HaSulam, it's Rabia Akiva. But back then you didn't have loan at all. Everybody worked hard for the daily meal. And even later on, you still have everything compared to gold. And it doesn't matter. In other words, it's all part of the correction. In other words, he takes it upon himself to work to achieve his goal during the time he lives off the store, in a way that he promises to pay his debt by achieving the desired goal. Therefore, he is deemed as one who wishes to borrow, meaning that he pledges to return the debt. Rabbi Akiva depicts two kinds of people. The first are the open store type, which regard this world as an open store without a shopkeeper. He says about them, the book is open and the hand writes, meaning although they do not see that there is an account, all their actions are nonetheless written in the book, as explained above, meaning that they have a memory of the suffering and the joy that they had in all previous lives and the current one, and also on a general level of the generation. This is done by the law of development. This is done by the law of development imprinted in creation against humanity's will, where the deeds of the wicked themselves necessarily instigate the good deeds, as we have shown above. The second type of people is called those who want to borrow. They take the shopkeeper into consideration, and when they take something from the store, they only take it as a loan. They promise to pay the shopkeeper the desired price, meaning attain the goal by it. And he says about them, all who wishes to borrow may come and borrow. And if you say, what is the difference between the first type whose goal comes to them from the law of development and the other type whose goal comes to them by the self-enslavement to his work, meaning to nature? Are they not equal in attaining the goal, meaning those who come from wanting to attain the goal and those who are being pushed to it by suffering? What is the difference between them? In that regard, because in the end, if you're talking about the goal of nature, it's the same for everybody, and everybody is going to attain it. No free choice on that. So what is the difference if you take your life in account of the goal and the creator, or without it, and you just want to enjoy life here and now, and who knows what will happen, because tomorrow you might die. I don't know how to translate that phrase, but there is a phrase that we'll eat and drink today, because tomorrow who knows. In that regard, he continues, and the collectors return regularly day by day and collect from a person knowingly and unknowingly. Thus, in truth, both pay their daily portion of the debt. Yeah, so it's not like in our world, you pay your debt. Nature won't let you, how do you say, like avoid it or make your way out of it, or all kinds of stuff like that. Okay, you'll pay your debt. And just as the forces that emerge by engaging in his work are deemed the loyal collectors who collect the debt in portions every day until it is completely paid, the mighty forces imprinted in the law of development are also deemed as loyal collectors, who collect their daily portions of the debt until it is paid in full. This is the meaning of, and the collectors return regularly day by day and collect from a person. Meaning, who are the collectors? Again, they're just all the negative feelings we feel in our will to receive. Let's say that there is a field, there is a balance point in which you need to be. You are enforced to receive from the field, meaning to go into deficiency, into minus, because you were created that way by the will to receive. But you were created that way in order that you'll use it in order to attain the balance in a higher level, meaning build a higher plus, a higher intention to bestow above the will to receive. And if you do that, meaning then you look on everything you receive in your will to receive as a loan. I received that because the Creator wanted me to receive that. I received that in order that I can give in higher contentment and to be in a higher adhesion with Him. Okay? And that's how, and this is the second type. And the first type, they just go into higher debt, like bigger debt, more and more. And in the end, they'll be pushed, or not in the end, like every time they are being pushed closer to the balance point by suffering. Meaning by determining that everything that they took in the will to receive is actually opposite the goal. So they need to recognize the evil in that. Okay? So they need to come into complete frustration and desperation from the attempts to try to fulfill themselves in an egoistical way. Wow, today is hard. You can see that I haven't talked English for a week and a half. Okay, do we have time? Yeah, we have 1 more minute before we take questions. However, there is a great difference and a great distance between them, meaning knowingly and unknowingly. The first type, whose debt is collected by the collectors of the development, pay their debt unknowingly. But stormy waves come upon them through the strong wind of development and push them from behind, forcing them to step forward. Thus their depth is collected against their will and with great pains by manifestation of the evil forces, which push them from behind. But the second type pay their depth, which is the attainment of the goal knowingly, of their own accord, by repeating the actions that hasten the development of the sense of recognition of evil. And through this work they gain doubly. Doubly. How do you pronounce that?
Doubly.
Yeah, doubly. I was right. Okay, so you have a double. You have double gains, or how do you say that? Or you earn double if you work with nature, consciously, knowingly. Okay, so you earn double. What is the double profit that you earn, and what is the difference exactly? We'll touch base on that next lesson. Now let's see if we have questions before we wrap this lesson. Okay, we are to make a correction, the Kabbalah way to get out of suffering and release the pain. Yeah, Marilyn, I thought you were going to ask a question for the first time in many lessons, but it was a comment. But it's also good. Mary is asking, when we are in pain, is it because we owe a debt to another person or to the Creator? It's always with the Creator. There is no calculation with other persons. There are no other persons. They are all illusions, part of the system, part of the buffering system between you and the Creator. In the end, there is only me and the Creator, and all reality in between. Francis is thanking for answering the questions. No problem, you're welcome. Okay, no more questions than that. Good, so next time we're going to take it from the double gains that moving knowingly or consciously to the goal gives us. And that's it for now. Have a great day, great night, wherever you are, and see you next time. Bye-bye.